Time is running low. You ready?
Most people think time is like a river that flows swift and sure in one direction. But I have seen the face of time, and I can tell you, they are wrong. Time is an ocean in a storm. You may wonder who I am and why I say this. Sit down, and I will tell you a tale like none that you have ever heard.
Back in 1989, gamers were captivated with a side-scrolling adventure called Prince of Persia. Given the task of saving a princess from marrying the evil Jafar, you only had 60 minutes to make your way through a castle dungeon and rescue her. The addictive PC game was created by Jordan Mechner, who was also the primary programmer and designer. Mechner used his brother to model the prince's movements, and his father to compose the game's music. Prince of Persia hit shelves with character animation unlike anything gamers had seen before, sword fighting that took skill and patience, and plenty of ways to die, like being stabbed, crushed, or impaled. The gameplay involved lots of fluid running, jumping, hanging, and sword swinging. As the game's popularity took off, it was quickly ported to multiple systems, and a sequel was released in 1993. The next installment featured new environments to travel through, like caves and rooftops. In 1999, the prince returned to the PC in Prince of Persia 3D. Making the difficult transition to 3D, the game was not a commercial success. It was ported to the short-lived Sega Dreamcast a year later, but still received little attention. In 2001, Ubisoft acquired the rights to Prince of Persia and wanted to revamp the franchise. Ubisoft realized they needed to do much more than make the prince playable in a 3D environment. They would have to create an innovative experience gamers had never seen before, like the original did in 1989. In the fall of 2003, they released The Sands of Time, an action-adventure considered by many to be one of the best games of that year. It brought new life to the franchise and offered the development team a chance to tell a completely new story. Sands of Time began with a king and his son, the new Prince of Persia. While defeating a powerful Maharaja, looting the palace, and taking prisoners, the king's vizier advised him to steal an extravagant hourglass. Looking to impress his father, the prince searched for a mysterious dagger, but was unaware of its true power. The vizier tricked the prince into using the dagger, and he unleashed the Sands of Time. The sands destroyed the kingdom and turned everyone into demons except the prince, the vizier, and the Maharaja's daughter, Farah.
He must not get the dagger!
The prince soon discovered that the weapon he possessed was the Dagger of Time, which could rewind or slow down the world around him. This allowed gamers to control their destiny like never before. If the prince fell off a ledge or missed a trap, he could rewind time and try it again. The Sands of Time kept the same elements as the originals: sword fighting, platforming, and brilliant character animation. The prince fought his way through a massive palace filled with sand demons and deadly traps, killed his own father, and fell in love with and then lost Princess Farah. He plunged the Dagger of Time into the top of the hourglass, rewinding time to before the attack on the Maharaja's palace.
Do not be afraid.
He then revealed the evil vizier's plans.
Prevent him, and my father's army will know the traitor has been unmasked.
Saving Farah's father and her people. The prince had won the day, but not the girl. From the story to the gameplay, Sands of Time was a huge success. Ubisoft had created a solid Prince of Persia game in 3D, and they quickly moved on to its sequel. They released Warrior Within a year later, and moved the story several years forward. The prince was older, weathered, and tormented. commanding a ship at sea, he was forced to live on the run from the Dahaka, an unstoppable beast incarnation of fate, bent on destroying the prince and the rift in the timeline he created.
I am the architect of my own destruction.
An old mystic explained to the prince that he created this Dahaka when he used the sands to rewind time. He could not escape his fate, and he had to die. The prince refused to give up and set out to find the Island of Time, the birthplace of the sands. Ubisoft took their series to a darker place in Warrior Within. They featured more of the same acrobatic platforming from the first game, and upgraded the combat system to give players dozens of ways to dispatch their enemies. Constantly chased by the Dahaka, the prince made his way through the island and confronted Kylina, the Empress of Time. Unfortunately, by destroying her, he created the Sands of Time again. His only choice was to wear a magical mask that transformed him into a monster capable of making one last desperate trip through time. The mask gave him unlimited use of the Sand's power, but slowly stole his life away. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the prince finally got it right. He destroyed the Dahaka and saved Kylina. He headed back to Babylon, thinking he had won the day again, but found his homeland in flames. With this cliffhanger, Ubisoft set the stage for The Two Thrones, the third and final installment in the Prince of Persia series. The new game puts the prince in the middle of a city under siege, and Kylina in the hands of a new enemy. Before the prince can save her, she is murdered, and the same sands of time the prince has worked so hard to destroy are released again. The sands tear the prince in two and threaten to destroy Babylon. He must stop them and learn to control the new darker and deadlier side of himself.
I won't let you stand in my way.
Hunted as a fugitive, the prince must make his way through the war-torn streets and roofs of the giant city and find a way to set things right. The series that started as a simple but inventive PC game over 10 years ago has evolved into one of the most popular and entertaining video game trilogies of all time. Its brilliant and dramatic story will come to a grand conclusion in the third installment, set to be released in December of 2005. With more of the reinvented hanging, jumping, and swinging that have made the series great from the start, along with a new playable Dark Prince character, improved combat, and the new speed kill system, Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones promises to be Ubisoft's finest hour.